All right, welcome to our series on fundamentals of law enforcement analysis or crime analysis. I'm Dawn Wiebe from Excellence in Analytics, and I'm happy to share with you some of the things that I've learned throughout 20 plus years in law enforcement regarding the fundamentals of what law enforcement analysis can be and how we can really maximize our role, our analytical role in police agencies. So let's explore what crime analysis is. When you hear the term crime analysis, what kind of things come to mind? A lot of people will say, oh, well, it's like New York, where it's an accountability strategy, or it's a bunch of maps and that kind of thing. And so I'm here to share with you what it is and what it isn't, and create a better understanding. So most TV shows, right, CSI, Numbers, NCIS, The District, Criminal Minds, Profiler, and there's many others out there as well, really try to spread some light on what the growth is in analytics and law enforcement. And so a lot of it is fun and, and TV bound, right? But there is some legitimacy to it, and particularly around the numbers one, where we use information to really help drive some of our strategies, right? And so it is not blood scene, criminalistics. It is not that kind of analysis. We typically don't go to a crime scene and analyze the data, right? So it's not like anything like that, but we do look at the information from reports, right? And try to understand patterns and trends. So let's dive in. So crime analysis, most simply put, is that it is the study of crime patterns and trends. So we use processes, techniques, and products in evolving that provide information to support the various missions of law enforcement agencies. So we look at massive amounts of information and try to make sense of it so that we can deploy and create strategies accordingly. And so where does this information come from? Well, there's lots and lots of sources of information. There's fusion centers and call centers called dispatch information. Typically within a police department, you will have your dispatch data, your incident and arrest data. You might even have like traffic data, right? Usually out of your CAD system or some state report system. But there's other information that you want to include as well. You want to include prison and probation releases, citizen complaints, demographics of the community, organized retail theft networks, right? Policing strategies, other law enforcement information. So really tapping into the area police agencies and understanding what's happening in their communities, because those crimes will cross over into yours most likely. You may have access to probation, parole databases. A lot of them are online at this point. PON information, a lot of that is online as well. And fusion center. So the role of the analyst is to look at reports and dispatch and other law enforcement information like the ones here, as well as open database, social media, and that kind of thing, to pull it all together and to create these analytical products that push out information that's going to serve a police department. So most crime is random and unpredictable and unconnected. So some examples might be a man seizes an opportunity to steal an unattended laptop, an argument in a bar erupts into a fight, a feud between neighbors leads to a rock thrown through a window, and the man is killed in a drug deal gone bad. So these are the random things that traditional police response is just fine to deal with them. What we're interested in law enforcement analysis are those crimes that are not isolated, the ones that are targeted, predictable, and connected. So some examples of this would be a gas station robber who holds up a lone clerks on Friday night, or maybe a rapist who stalks women in parks in the eastern side of the city, right? Or the group of kids who smash car windows every single weekend, that repeat auto theft, right? So these are the things that we really try to understand the pattern of offending so that we can predict the next event, okay? So let's spend a moment and talk about classification of analysts and their roles within police agencies. So there's a couple of different kinds of law enforcement analysts, right? And so you might have a larger agency where you specialize in a specific kind of crime, or you might be one or two analysts in an agency and you kind of do it all. So here's the general breakdown. We have crime analysis, which deals with tactical right? So there's a robbery series or a burglary series. We have crime analysts who deal with strategic or problem analysis, like you have a problem hotel or a problem of prostitution. Crime analysis also encompasses administrative, right? Like how many numbers there are, how many crimes there are, and operational. Looking at where are we deploying, is appropriate, should we redistrict, and that sort of thing. So you'll find this a lot at the county level and at the local level. Criminal intelligence analysis is more about identifying networks of offenders, right? So these are those drug networks, those prostitution or gang networks, those human trafficking networks, that kind of thing. So financial networks, retail crime, so these are more of the intelligence networking of analysis, right? Or of criminals. And so you'll find these at the county, state, and the federal level. So then we have criminal investigations. This type of analysis involves more of profiling. So you'll see this more at the FBI level, the federal level. So VICAP, Violent Crime Apprehension Program. So these are more like the serial rapists and the serial homicide suspects and the serial arsonists. So this involves profiling a case, really digging deep into the data and profiling a particular person who travels across the country, let's say. Most police departments generally, will have some kind of analytical function, and we're going to walk through, as we move through this series, we're going to walk through what most police departments do and what they can be doing in that crime analysis function. So what is the role of an analyst in a crime analysis function at a police agency? What is the role? So here, analysts really want to identify crime patterns. That's your job, to identify the patterns. And a lot of times analysts get stuck and they end up doing a lot of administrative work. But really the true goal of an analyst in a law enforcement agency is to identify the patterns and share that information, do some predictions, share that information to patrol and to the public. So they help develop strategies with police and other agencies, maybe fire and other local police agencies, or maybe even state fusion centers and federal groups, right? And so they might develop strategies and then predicting. The role of the analyst is to predict where the suspect is going to strike again, right? Where are they going to hit again? So whether you're identifying patterns, doing predictions, or developing strategies, the overall goal is to reduce and prevent crime and disorder. That's the goal, reduce and prevent crime and disorder. So crime analysis organizes all of this information and intelligence in a way that helps to solve problems and reduce crime and disorder. And so on an analyst's to-do list, and I'm actually a big proponent of success lists, right? So to-do lists are just things that you check off, but success lists are for a purpose. And so this is a purpose-driven analyst. If you want to be a purpose-driven analyst or have your analyst be purpose-driven, you want to make sure that they're doing a couple different things. And here they are. You want to make sure that they're identifying patterns and hotspots as they happen, not a month later, not 2 weeks later, as they happen, right? That could be a real-time analysis center, or if you don't have real-time analysis centers, it could certainly be, what trends are happening right now using the data. A successful analyst researches long-term problems. What's happening at hotels in the community? What's the problem at an intersection for crash, right? What's happening at the mall? What are our problems in our communities? They provide information on demand. So an analyst wants to know their data inside and out. They want to have access to their data at their fingertips. You do not want these canned reporting systems where you can only just spit out some numbers. That's not analysis. What you want is you want to be able to have a detective come into your office and say, hey, give me all the burglaries that meet this MO. I have a suspect that I'm interrogating. And you can go ahead and provide that information quickly and on demand. An analyst develops and links local intelligence. You want to be able to know what players are part of a crew, right? You want to be able to know in this burglary crew, who are the players, who are the baby mamas, who are the people connected. The analysts can help solve crime and identify offenders. So if you're an analyst right now, or if you're building analytical capacity at your agency, these are the things that you want to share with your detectives, your patrol staff, your leadership staff. These are the things that you want to share that analysts can do. A lot of times I work with police departments where the analysts, they don't know what they can do, and the agency doesn't know what the analyst does for them. So being able to say, here's what we do, is critical. Here's what we do. You increase officer safety, right? You are the keeper of information. So you understand the information that comes in, and you can understand what needs to go out immediately. You improve the quality of life. You send your officers where they need to go to do some of the proactive work that you want them to do, right? You improve that quality of life. You help allocate resources. You can tell your officers where, the most amount of calls to service is by shift, right? You can indicate where they need to deploy by shift, by day a week, by a combination of all of that. Right? So you can help save some resources. You can educate and inform the public. You can walk through what's happening in the community right now and what the public should be aware of. So a lot of this happens in social media. You might be able to, push out to the public that there's a series going on and lock your doors and that kind of thing. You improve data quality and standards, right? You look at the information, it's at your fingertips. You're able to really improve the quality of the information coming into your agency so that you can improve also that analysis that you're pushing out. You are doing statistics. Now, you can kind of see it's at the bottom here, right? Because a lot of analysts, that's all they do. And I encourage you to not make that your full-time function. Automate as much statistics, and we'll get into some of the fun in later fundamental sections, how you can automate different things that you can do to keep the numbers, right? To provide the statistics to the city managers and to your managers, but that's not your only role. That should be as automated as much as possible. Analysts also produce maps. There's lots of mapping softwares out there. We're going to get into some of the ones that, as of the current period, which is June 2020, what are the current mapping programs that are available and that are helpful. And then analysts use social media. They use it to either push out information, they help manage social media websites possibly, or they collaborate with the person who is doing the social media to indicate what the public should know. But overall, you want to know that the analytical function, the success of analytical function, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. The success of an analyst is helping your department look good, being on top of what's happening in my community and how I can, create this response system and evaluation system that truly is professional and quick and efficient. So how do we do all this? How do we make all those successes happen? So the daily activities of an analyst is pretty darn basic, right? So the daily activities is your job. You review the reports and local and regional intelligence, and you maintain a database. So every analyst, even if you're in a larger agency, you might have like robberies, you own robberies, and someone else owns, burglaries, right? So, or you may be in a smaller agency and you have to do it all, right? I was in an agency of about 180 sworn personnel, and I was the only analyst, which is quite a lot for one analyst, but I made sure that I read the reports every day. And so there were some that I paid more attention to and others I paid less attention to, like some of the ones that weren't part of a pattern. But your job is to review the reports every day, to look at the local and that regional piece, what's happening outside your borders, and you maintain the database. Now, that does not mean that you clean the data. That does not mean that you input data, right, for your police agency. What it means is you have to maintain a crime analysis database in whatever format that might be. You might have some, expensive program, or it might be in an access database, right? And so the idea is that you have data at your fingertips that you can manage and maintain, produce the statistics, automate them, and be able to dig into a burglary analysis, a crime, a pattern series, or whatever it might be in your database. Okay, that could be connected to your records management system or not, right? Hopefully, there's some connection so that you don't have to do a lot of manual work. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. So you review the reports every day. This is on your success list. The next thing you do is you analyze crime. You analyze crime and identify patterns and trends. And I find a lot of analysts are not in this phase, right? They're not analyzing crime. They're just looking at reports and running statistics. And that's not your only role. Your role is to read the reports, understand the reports, analyze the crime, and identify patterns and trends, and then disseminate findings. So keeping it all in your head isn't going to make a whole lot of sense, right? Keeping it all in your head is not going to be able to develop strategies in your department, right? So you want to disseminate your findings immediately, disseminate in bulletins and special reports during roll call at, staff meetings, sitting with detectives, sitting with patrol sergeants, whatever it is, you want to get your information out. In your head, it doesn't do a whole lot. Get your information out. So we're going to end here, and we're going to pick up on analyzing crime patterns and trends, the different kinds of analysis next. So tactical, strategic, administrative, and operational will be discussed next.